Good morning, or afternoon actually, joyful Christian mystic. I tell you, we evolve, and I'm realizing that while I live the hermit life very much so, and increasingly, in fact, I'm going to talk about the 9 S's because I'm doing a review of them and tightening up. I'm tightening up. But I'm really not in sync with the way the hermit vocation has altered, has evolved historically and temporally in the Catholic Church. With the diocese hermit, I realize it's a creation. I mentioned this in the previous video. And at this point, an experimental creation, but it's a creation since 1983 of something a little different. And it's not what works with what God wants of me and why He wanted me protected. And that isn't because I'm a hermit. No, He wanted me to hibernate for protection from the world, the temporal, which includes the temporal world of the church. There is a spiritual, mystical church, and there's a temporal, tangible church. So, and I am not really of the temporal part so much. I could be, but people can't cope. They don't have the spiritual view enough. Not all. Many of you do. Many of you do. Many of you are kindred spirits with me. But some are not. And so I think my title misleads because they enter into my sight with this view of the diocese hermit, which is a more temporal creation of more rubrics, rules, protocols, and they're evolving all the time, including lately, this person has been talking about having ministry, that hermits have ministry in the church, and that they are at the heart of the church. Well, we all are. I think the person sort of got called out on that. Somebody must have. See, I had to put a sign up. It's sad. People have been pulling my sedums out and throwing them up in the yard. I find them, or they're all out of the ground, and either maybe dogs are on leashes, but throwing them in the yard, that has, and by the roots, they were up by the roots and tossed into my yard way back in. And these cost a lot, and I have them for people's enjoyment. So that's what I wrote. Please enjoy what God and I have put out here for you. Come on, Mercy, we're going to walk up in the yard. We're going to walk in the yard. I can't do the sidewalk. I am not well. I have this doctor's appointment for Monday, but I'm going to cancel it. The GP, he can't. It's my neck. And I can't get into the goofy physical therapy group. So not for a month or more or something. It's crazy. They said, well, you have to establish medical need. And they don't think I do because I don't look it. But my neurosurgeon certainly says I have need. But the system is more set up, and their mindset is more for people who've had surgery. And then they can get thrills out of watching them get better, and they get no thrill from me because I progressively get worse, and that's how arachnoiditis works. And necks that have stenosis that's very bad, and injuries, and all kinds of knots and bone growing around discs that are protruding, etc., and pressing on nerves. So anyway, but yeah, so I think I need to embrace the mystic me and buck up and just live the hermit life, the traditional centuries old form of it, but not ever consider it. I'm not even going to associate in my mind as a hermit or identify, but rather face the mystic and accept finally, what am I, nearly 75, that's how I was born. And then it might be less confusing to viewers. And I'm going to zero in on what is going to benefit me, which is selfish, yes. But some of you are in the same boat as me. You're mystics, or you have mystical experiences, or you're highly spiritual. You don't have to be mystic to have, be very, very spiritually oriented. In other words, you're not a temporalite. You're not, you have been able to evolve past the temporal Catholic world phase, where you have been able to grasp the spiritual of the church, grasp the spiritual of the Mass, grasp the spiritual and mystical of the Eucharist. And you can grasp then what God did with me when I explained it, because some of you may have it happen at some point, and we'll all have it happen when we die, where we are mystically fed. We are no longer fed temporally, tangibly. These are my little spots that I've been loosening up the crabgrass to get it out, and then I've had 2 days of just being really zapped. My balance is off from my neck, and I still have things to plant. I did finally decide I'm going to put this tupelo. This is going to be Koina's prayer tree, one of our viewers. I don't know what's happened to him. I haven't heard from him. So, of course, you know me, I get worried. Have they been in an accident or whatever? Same with Camilla. I haven't heard from Camilla, but you don't have to. See, that's the whole thing. You don't have to leave comments or anything. But me, I'm not wanting to. No, Lovey and Mercy, don't bark. That doggy is just walking. Just walking. And you're walking. Let's walk. Anyway, there's the tupelo, Zydeco twist. And it'll get large. It's a moderate grower, so it won't be in my lifetime 20 feet tall, but I'm thinking of putting it here. I guess I could put it out there. If they kept the limbs cut on it, I'd put it in that hole there that used to be a rose bush. But I'm thinking maybe right out here in the grass, might have a little more space then, and it'll shade the patio a little bit eventually for my daughter, whoever, my grandson wants the house after his mother, so might be in the family a long time, who knows. So, Lovey, I just need quiet. My headache is so bad, doggies. My headache's so bad. Please, accommodate me again. I know you guys do so much accommodating of me. They are such good puppies. Oh, look at all the seeds coming from the marigolds. I'll bring a baggie out and get some of these seeds and then plant them in the spring if I'm still here. Or I mean, if I'm alive. If I am at my daughter's, I'll still come here and tend the gardens, which are in great need of. Oh, I think we're gonna go. I just can't handle the barking. My headache is so bad. We might have to go back inside. I'd rather be out here. They need some fresh air, but they see a dog or a person. They see another dog way over there now, way over there. Isn't it a wonderful day? I love this. My neighbor reminded me the other day, she's up at their lake, but she said she had gone outside and just taken deep breaths and smelled all these pine cones and different things. And I'm gonna do that. So I came out and breathed the air, and it was the leaves and the dampness. And let's go around in front. We'll go around in front so we can. These poor puppies. They want to run free like those dogs, but those dogs obey their masters and come to them and just stay with them. My doggies just run off, and maybe in an hour or so but we're not supposed to have them off leash even in the common area. But I can understand those dogs stay right with their masters, so their masters don't worry about it. And those masters don't have HOA men that target them either, so which I have had. So I'm just watching my own P's and Q's, keeping these guys on their leashes. And we do need to get them to the dog park so they can run around with the fenced area and be around other doggies. That's what I need to do. It doesn't seem like today's going to be one of the days. Better get my little self back over to the grass area because the concrete's so hard on my spine and neck today. Here we go, keeping a good attitude. So anyway, I think, Mac Till just really was so good for me. And all these, they're such good friends. And I'm going to learn from them more. So I'm going to veer more into the mystics. I was thinking of Bernard McGinn. I need to check if he's still alive, but I corresponded with him maybe 3 or 4 years ago, briefly. He's the world-leading expert in mystics, Christian mysticism. So I wrote to him. I thought, because I was still bothered by my situation with the temporal Catholic world. And, priests that couldn't cope with the ecstasy during Mass, and he got frustrated. He couldn't deal with it. And I realized, well, he can intellectually write and study. He's the scholar of all the mystics of history and write about them. But he can't deal with the temporal issues that mystics have had all through. And so that's why if I spend more time digging down deep into some of the books I have of their lives, that helps me, because I see what they went through in their time periods. It wasn't hunky-dory for them. But since they're dead, and the church has said, oh, wow, let's canonize this and that one. And they don't do the books. They just do the ones that have the incredible gifts of healing or revelations or things like that. They don't canonize every mystic. There's lots of mystics. There's lots of them alive today. I mean, lots comparatively. Let's be realistic. I know of one, and thankfully that's through and I think there's a couple of you also, but LS definitely identified herself and helped me, and she's very, very evolved. She was born, and her family mystics, and she can no longer go to church. She had to stop. She asked Jesus, and he said, you don't have to go anymore. Don't go to Mass anymore. He understood that she was being given a hard time, and Jesus doesn't want that. I remember back in, it would have been September 12th of 1999, or the 11th, right after I was ousted from my soup kitchen, scapegoated out in a horrible way, and that priest did all his sermons about me, negative and lies from the pulpit, just trashed me in my own hometown. That's pretty extreme. But bless his heart, I forgave him. But I mean, that's really the only thing to do with something like that. Just forgive. Pray, love, forgive, and then live your life. Keep going. But my spiritual father, he says, who is your judge? And I said, Jesus is. And he says, that's right, and don't you ever forget it. Because I was tempted to just be, mortified and horrified, and it did affect me. I went into a shell. Wasn't healthy, where I didn't want to leave the house or be seen. And one woman, the woman that I had babysat for her children, and her husband had died, her first husband, I had babysat for them, and in high school and when I was in college and things. And here I was with my own children now, and she drove over to my house, and was my friend through all that period and remained so, and was outraged by what had happened. She'd been at Mass and heard the sermon of horrible things said, detractions of me, and untruths. So, and we didn't dwell on that, but she remained my friend. And eventually I got to where, because if I tried going out, but I'd have Catholic people would just be terrible to me in public. Very, very say nasty things to my face, accuse me of stuff. I'd get 6 a.m. phone calls of harassment, and based on the priest's lies. And the other people who knew, no one wants to go up against a priest and tell him you're out of line. But this lady did. She told, and I had one other lady, though, who, when I was having the ecstasies, well, I still would probably have them if I went, but I realized God had them for me as a gift and also as a message for the church about the Mass. But the bishop at the time where I was before, he was too busy trying to figure out how it what was going on. He wasn't interested in the message. He got hung up on the temporal. See, people don't get caught in don't become a temporalite. If you already are, get yourself out of it. God is spirit, truth, and light, and he is interested in our temporal lives, but he's more interested and desirous of us growing in our spirit, our soul. Our soul is the most important part of us. And don't judge. Try not to judge. It's hard. Jesus is the judge. And I had to remind myself of that this morning, because Barbara, she meant very well. But I reread her comment. I had taken it so nicely. And I realized she was being really rather judgmental. or there's a little bit of sarcasm to it, I realized. So you think this, or you feel this, and you've cut off all the structures of the church and you don't pray the divine office. Well, I used to, but I've evolved. I don't have to keep reading the same things. I read more. I pray more. I have other experiences. I love. I live. I breathe. I'm in spirit. So it's not like I am against doing anything against the church. It's just so crazy. I mean, it's like it's hard for me to comprehend that kind of sort of rudeness. But people don't grasp. They don't grasp that we evolve. Our souls grow. And granted, it took me a while to understand that my arachnoiditis progresses. This morning, one of my texts went to my Mormon neighbor because my pain level was high. It was messing up with my text thing. I sent a message to my spiritual friend regarding the hermit life, and that I realized that was for a time, and that it's altered now, that the vocation has changed and progressed. That's how it is. And my life now is to fully accept my mystic self, not fear it, and not be intimidated. Live it. Live who I am. And of course it will be in the hermit style, in the original hermit life, that of the early church fathers, John the Baptist, etc. But God's calling me to grow. and to expand and to evolve and prepare for heaven. You know, I'm not going to have a divine office set in heaven. And when you read and read and read through the divine office, some people are ready to read something other, such as to read maybe the whole book of Hebrews and ponder it, or read sermons, or read a whole book of writings of a saint, rather than a morning office reading. You know, in the early office, there's usually a reading from a saint. So it's let us not get ensnared. Talk about being in a vice grip or something. Try not to. Let God lead. Let God lead. Just like the gardens here, they're growing, they're progressing, they're changing. Some things are going to be transplanted today, God willing, and my body able. So, oh, look at that Gloria. Isn't it just, it's the light on it. It really had too much darkness on it from this tree. I cut a couple branches off a year or so ago. And then with the leaves falling, this is getting more of the light that it likes to be really gold. But, so see what, I don't know if you understand. I think a lot of you get it. You understand. But I thought, you know, you got to put it all in perspective. You know, I have to remind myself, who was told back in early July of 1995, your sufferings and the sufferings of Holy Mother Church shall be made one. Started out saying, by the power of this locution, an angel proclaimed that. And the other mystical experiences. How dare I deny the heritage that God birthed me as, even though I am not of the evolved level that LS was or is, or her family, but maybe not, because I have been hiding from it. I have been fearful and hid away in my hermit vocation. And that isn't, I mean, in 1999, I hadn't heard of these diocese hermit things, even though I'd been in 1980. My spiritual father had never heard of it. And sort of wished I hadn't, but it's in the church now. It's in there. But it's not my path. So I'm evolving, and I will live what God created me as, what I was born as a mystic, and keep myself protected by God's graces. And I am fed mystically, and if it's too much for some people to cope with, they don't need to listen to my videos. And they can judge me if they want. I realize that's okay if they want to. They're not Jesus, so it doesn't bother me. My spiritual father said Jesus is my judge, and not to ever forget it. So if they want to think that I have abandoned the structures of the church, well, yeah, I guess. They sort of abandoned me. The structure did. Some of them burned down, then are they abandoned? No. I live in the spiritual. I'm not tied to the temporal. So it's not the temporal building structure of the church that is of my utmost concern. It's everybody's soul. It's my soul particularly, because that's my responsibility, but it's the love that I want to give every soul. So I thought it was really, really good that one of the viewers brought up these questions, and because it did cause me to think, and it's causing me to grow and to evolve, and to realize also, if I take the Hermit out of my video title and replace it with mystic, I will totally stay out of the back and forth or the whatevers of other hermits who are of the diocese type or whatever type they are, and just because here's the doggies going again. Okay, I'm signing off. We're going in. God bless you.